Good evening. Happy Tastic Tuesdays to you. And today's the first day of Black History Month, so let's start this off correctly. How many of you all have heard of the 104 black medical doctors who donated their time to serve during World War I? Not many. So I'm going to also go out on a limb and say that probably don't know that most of these men graduated from 3 black colleges that specialized in training of medical professionals. That's Meharry Medical College in Nashville, Tennessee, Howard University College of Medicine in Washington, D.C., and Leonard Medical School at Shaw University in Raleigh, North Carolina. The doctors completed their training at a segregated medical officers training camp in Fort Des Moines in Iowa. But most notably, one of the 104 was posthumously awarded the Distinguished Service Cross. Let me introduce you to Mr. Urbain Francis Bass, April 14th, 1880 to October 6th, 1918. He was a United States doctor and Army First Lieutenant of the 372nd Infantry Regiment of the 93rd Infantry Division. In 1906, he graduated from Virginia Union University. In 1909, he moved to Fredericksburg and opened a larger practice in pharmacy on Amelia Street. In 1916, he wrote Secretary of War, at the time was Newton Baker, offering his services. On August 14, 1917, he was commissioned as a first lieutenant in the Medical Reserve Corps. He reported for duty at Fort Des Moines. On November 3rd, 1917, after training, he was transferred to Camp Funston near Manhattan, Kansas. Please excuse me if I mispronounce that. On March 30th, 1918, he departed from Newport News to France aboard USS the Susquehanna with the 372nd Infantry Regiment of the 93rd Infantry Division. On October 6, 1918, he was fatally injured via German artillery fire while working at a forward aid station near Montreuil, France. On July 9th, later that year, he was awarded posthumously the Distinguished Service Cross for administering first aid in open fire under prolonged and intense shell fire until he was severely wounded and carried from the field. On July 23rd, 1921, he returned home and was reburied in Fredericksburg National Cemetery. He was the first black officer to be interred there. Now, a little information about the Distinguished Service Cross. It was first awarded January 2nd of 1918. It is the second highest military award given to members of the United States Army. It was previously awarded to both the Air Force and the Army. It is given for extreme gallantry and risk of life in actual combat with an armed enemy force. Now, out of the doctors who went to France, of the 104, only 8 were chosen to go to France. Most people don't know and do not speak about the contributions of black men and women to the various wars that the United States has participated in on domestic soil and on foreign soil. Now think of the mindset of men, just like First Lieutenant Bass and his 103 counterparts. Think of going and fighting side by side with men from different countries who treated you completely different than the country that you're fighting under their flag. And then having to come home to Jim Crow, gerrymandering, blockbustering, redlining. Imagine generations later, racist looking at your descendants, continuously putting forth the narrative that you just sat back and did nothing and white people fought for everything, including you and your freedom. Because I'm pretty sure most people don't talk about the 369th U.S. Infantry. It's black combat troops. They were nicknamed the Harlem Hellfighters. People in France still speak of these men to this day. They are noted with never losing a man through capture, loss of a trench, or a foot of ground to the enemy. They were the first to reach the Rhine River and provided the longest service of any regiment in a foreign army in France. They fought in the trenches for 191 days. The entire unit received the Croix de Guerre medal for their actions. This French medal is commonly given to foreign military allies, awarded to those that distinguish themselves with acts of heroism in combat with the enemy. This is part of the reason why they don't want critical race theory taught. They don't want the real history to come out. It's not because they're protecting the feelings of little white children. They're protecting all of the whitewashing that they've done. Because once you level out the playing field and make it truly equitable, they historically and literally have no leg to stand on. And if you want more fun Black History facts all year round, join me on Saturdays via Zoom. Links in the bio of all my social medias. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, etc. Until next week.